Okay, this tutorial is going to demonstrate the installation of MySQL and BlueSeer ERP and EDI software on a Windows server. So we're going to look at two components here. We're going to look at the server piece, and then we're also going to look at the client piece as well. And so for the server portion of it, we're just going to demonstrate from A to Z. We're going to download the MySQL from the MySQL.com website, do the installation of MySQL, and then we're going to install the BlueSeer server portion as well as the download. Now, this has to be done in order. MySQL must be a prerequisite before you load the BlueSeer server application. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's go ahead and open up a browser. Okay. And we're going to go to dev.mysql.com, and we're going to download the MySQL, the community version of MySQL. The community version is a free version of the MySQL database engine. So click Downloads, go to the bottom, and you'll see MySQL Community Downloads here. Click that, and then click on the MySQL Community Server here, and then choose your version here. Now this is all going to be installed on a Windows 64-bit Windows 10 system. You'll have to make adjustments for yours accordingly, but this install will be for a 64-bit Windows operating system, Windows 10. So we're going to select version, the long 8.4.3. LTS is the long-term support version, so that's the version we want to download, 8.4.3. That's done, so let's click download. It will ask you if you want to sign up for an account. You do not have to do this. Below here it says no thanks, just start my download. So click on this and that'll start the download. And there it goes. So fairly fast download. Okay, that's done. So now let's, in the downloads folder, we're going to double click on that. And it's going to run through the install steps. Now, you can accept the defaults here. You do not have to get specific with it or make any adjustments. Just accept the defaults in the prompts that are given to you. Click Next. I accept Next. We're going to choose the typical installation. Click Install. And that'll work through installing some of the executables, the MySQL executables, into the program files MySQL directory. All right, you'll get also get another dialog box to do the configuration. So leave this checked with the check mark in it. Click Finish. And then accept the defaults here as well. So just click Next. This is the directory where your data and your data files will be stored at. Click Next. All this default is valid. You can accept this information as is. Click Next. Now here's an important step. You're going to put in a MySQL root password, an administrative password. You'll need to make sure that you write this password down because you will need it for the second step of installing the BlueSeer application. BlueSeer will require the root password. So put in a reasonable password. I'm just going to put in a test password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then accept the defaults here. Click Next. This is fine. Click Next. 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 And then execute. So what that's going to do is going to install the engine itself. It's going to create some initialization databases for the MySQL side. This generally goes fairly quickly. I think this fourth step is the one that takes a few minutes or consumes most of the time. So we'll let that run. And then once this is done, we need to make one more step to make sure that the MySQL install is compatible with the BlueSeer application. Okay, that's done. All the configuration is done. Click Next. Click Finish. And we should now have MySQL at the command line. So we're going to test that. We need to make sure that the MySQL executable is visible at the command prompt, because when you run the BlueSeer application, you're going to be running a batch script, and that batch script is run at the command line. So we're going to open up a command prompt, and we're going to type in MySQL to see if the executable is visible. And it is not. It's not recognized. So what we have to do is put the path, put the directory of the MySQL executables in the path, in the search path, and you do that by setting your environmental variables. And I'll show you how to do that. So let's close this. And we're going to click the search bar at the bottom and type about, A-B-O-U-T, and press enter. And that'll bring up the About dialog box. Go over to the right and click on Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables, and down at the bottom under System Variables there is a Path variable. We're going to highlight that, click Edit, and then we're going to enter a new directory inside this path variable. Before we do that, though, we need to find out where the bin directory is, where the executable directory is. So we're going to go back to the C drive, Program Files, MySQL, MySQL Server 8.4, and bin. Click on the menu bar up top. You can do a Control-C to copy it into the buffer. Then come back to this environment variable edit and click New. And then we're going to Control-V, we're going to paste this into this new entry. Once that's in there, this entire path of this directory has to be in here so that the command prompt can find the MySQL executable. Okay, click OK. 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 Kill this. Close this. And now let's just do a proof of concept. Open up the command prompt, type MySQL, and we should get something other than unrecognized. And we do. So what we can do is go ahead and test the root password that we set up in the previous installation step. So type MySQL -u root -p, and then press enter. It'll prompt you for a password. 2345. Yeah, and if you get this information right here, then your MySQL installation is set up. It's good to go for the BlueSeer installation. Okay, so that's step one. Let's close this. You can just close the prompt. Now let's go download. That's step one that we just did there. Let's do step two, download and install BlueSeer Server. So we're going to go back to Google Chrome, go to blueseer.com here. Download Windows. And click on the BlueSeer 7 with MySQL, the server. Make sure you click on the server link here. And that'll start to download immediately. Now this is going to be downloading a zip file. It's not an executable file. So it's a zip file. We'll have to extract the contents of the zip and then create another directory. Okay, that's done. Here's the zip file. We're going to double click on that zip file and extract to close. Extract to. We're going to create a directory called. I've already used that one. Let's do another one. Let's call it BS test. I don't have that one in there. Okay. You can call this directory. You can create a directory and put your contents in any directory. This is completely arbitrary what you call this folder here. But I'm just going to call it BS test for now. Click OK. And it's extracting all these contents into that BS test folder. And so close all this down. Come back to your File Explorer. Click C. And there is BS test. Okay. So now we've extracted the contents of the BlueSeer server application into the BS test directory. And now we need to run the MySQL install script. So let's open up the command prompt. We're going to cd to this directory. Cd to C:\BS test. Type directory, press enter. And so we know that we're in the correct directory. We're in the BS directory, and here's the contents. We're going to run this MySQL install that batch script. So here, MySQL install.bat, press enter, and you will be asked a series of questions. This first question is essentially just a safeguard. If you've already ran this installation script and you've already installed BlueSeer and you've already got production data in there, you do not want to run this again because it will override everything you have in there. So this is a first time install. Just type yes. Press enter. Type localhost. Press enter. And now here's where you have to enter the administrator password for MySQL. This is the root password that you enter for the MySQL engine. For me, it was 12345. Press enter. I'm going to accept the default database name, so I'm just going to press enter. I'm going to type in EN for English for the language pack. Press enter. And then it's going to do the install. This will take several minutes. Essentially what this is doing is creating the database schemas, creating the database fields, and the database tables that house the fields. So database, table, and fields are all being created as the BlueSeer schema. I think there's up to 223 tables altogether in the BlueSeer schema currently. Now, if there are any errors, it will show up here as an error colon whatever the error code is. So we'll see what we get. Once it creates the database schema, it's then going to try to load some default configurational data, which takes a little less longer. The database schema itself is the one that takes the longest time. It also depends on your server itself, the RAM, the processing speed, and this box that I'm putting this on is very slow. Okay, there it goes. So it's created the schema. And it's now loading user account and some default records for the tables. Okay, there were no errors that showed up here, so that's a good sign. So that completes the installation of BlueSeer with the MySQL database engine. So that actually finishes up step 2 here, download and install BlueSeer. Now we can confirm that by going to the directory, the BS test directory, and just double clicking on the login prompt or the login command here. Initially you can put in the username of admin. There is no password yet. Click login and that'll prove right here that we've got the installation of the database itself up to speed to where we want it so that the application is actually running. One of the questions that'll prompt you when you first do the installation is your country of origin, and what that's doing is establishing your currency, the default currency for the ERP instance. So I'm going to just choose United States, click commit, restart the application, click login again, admin, no password, login, and then that's it. So our database type is MySQL, it's on localhost. This application is being run on the local database server itself. Incidentally, to set that admin password, go to admin, user maintenance, click the magnifying glass, click enter or press enter, choose admin, and then set a password here, and click update. Since you're going to have multiple clients and multiple users, what you're going to want to do is create users here as well. And then provide them, establish their passwords, and then provide them their user ID and their passwords when they go to log in to the BlueSeer application. Okay, so that's step 1 and step 2 on the server. So we've done this step 2, and that's it. That completes the server installation of BlueSeer on top of MySQL on top of a Windows operating service. So now let's go ahead and simulate the client side. The client side is a lot easier. All you really have to do is there is a BlueSeer client install that you can download from BlueSeer website. It's an executable, and so it's self-extracting. It's a fairly simple application, and we'll run through that. We'll download it and run through the install. And the only other thing you have to do there is you're going to have to edit the IP address in the BS config file on the client once that installs. so that it points to this server that we just installed on the MySQL. It'll have by default the word localhost, but we're going to have to change that to the IP address of this server, and every client will have the same bsconfig file. Okay, so let's walk through. Go back to BlueSeer again. Download Windows. Now here's the client. Just download that. Again, this is not a zip file. This is an executable file, and it's a self-extracting file. So when that's done, we'll walk through that as well. Okay, so that's done. So just double click on this. This is an MSI product. Yeah, this is Windows Defender, basically saying it doesn't like anything open source, which is a real pain. But you can get around this. This is basically just a safeguard that Windows uses to not allow you to download anything that Microsoft doesn't recognize, which is pretty much everything. Just click More Info here, and then click Run Anyway, and then that'll bypass that safeguard. And then, yeah, you'll come up to this dialog box here, and from here on out, just accept the defaults. Click Next, Next, Install, and that'll do it. And so what that's going to do is create the client. We're simulating this, by the way, that I'm actually on the client install. So once you've done the server, you'll go over to anybody else that needs BlueSeer, go to their PC, download the client version, and do the self-extraction on the client. Do exactly what I'm doing right here on each one of your clients. And that'll create a directory on your C drive called BlueSeer. This is the client path. And there will be a bsconfig file here. So now the bsconfig file has localhost as well. This has to be the IP address of your server that you installed previously. So for example, for this case here, the IP address of my server will be like 10.15.2.110. I think that's what it is. This right here will be the same for all your clients. So if you have 5 clients, you'll have this file copied 5 times into each one of your client installs. They're bs.fig. You basically just edit this one and then copy that to all of your clients. So file save. And then you can click, there should be a shortcut in your menu bar for the client. Click BlueSeer, or you can double click Login. Admin. And there we go. So that's a demonstration of the client actually accessing the server that you created in steps 1 and 2 with the MySQL database backend, which is demonstrated here. For your clients, you would do these 2 steps. You download and install the BlueSeer client portion, and then you'd edit the bsconfig file on that client to change the IP address to the IP of the database server that you installed in this steps 1 and 2. And then you'd also, probably in steps 1 and 2, you would also at some point create users with logins and passwords, and then provide those to the clients as well. There's no limit on the number of clients you can have. You can have as many clients as you have PCs. So that demonstrates the installation of MySQL along with the BlueSeer ERP and EDI solution on a Windows operating system. Now, if you are installing this on a Linux operating system, the concepts are essentially the same. It's actually a little bit easier to install the server on a Linux server if you're familiar with Linux. But the concepts are typically the same, particularly with this part here. The bsconfig file has to be edited to point to the server so that it knows how to connect to this MySQL database server. All right, that's it. As you're doing the install, if you come across any bugs, any problems whatsoever, please send an email to support@blueseer.com. That information is also available on the website. At least it should be here. Where am I at? Yeah, the contact information here. With any bugs or any problems, and just or any feedback, positive or negative, provide us some information on the feedback, and most importantly, if you find bugs, please report those. All right, thank you.